All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about a huge turnaround story today. How one of Nigeria's most important agencies, the Immigration Service, dug itself out from under a mountain of paperwork to become a powerhouse of digital efficiency. It's a massive shift, and it all kicked off because of one giant problem. So that leads us to this massive question. What does it actually take to clear a backlog of over 200,000 passport applications? I mean, think about that. That's not just a pile of paper. That's 200,000 people waiting, stuck. And to clear all of that in just a few weeks, it sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what happened, and it's the core of what we're exploring. How on earth did they pull it off? Okay, so to really get how big of a deal this was, you have to understand what things were like before. We're talking about a system that was, for years, just bogged down. Think endless delays, bottlenecks. It was a nightmare for citizens and a huge headache for the service itself. This was the mess that needed fixing, and fast. So if we look back at the previous administration, say from 2019 to 2023, the whole approach was really about keeping things steady. Administrative oversight, maintaining the systems that were already there. Things were running, but it wasn't a time for big, bold moves or massive changes.
And, this quote from a KAIZY Innovations report really hits the nail on the head. It says, the tenure was largely defined by administrative oversight rather than sweeping transformational reforms. In other words, it was all about keeping the ship steady, not necessarily charting a brand new course. The system worked, but it definitely wasn't evolving.
But then, things started to change, big time. When the new minister came on board in 2023, there was a completely new game plan. The mandate was clear: modernization. Everything was going to be about technology, efficiency, and transparency. It was basically a signal that the old way of doing things was over.
And now look at this. When we put them side by side, the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you have maintaining the status quo. On the other, proactive, reform-driven, results-focused. And the key ingredient? Digital systems. This wasn't just a small tweak, it was a total shift in philosophy from just managing to truly transforming. Okay, so this new mandate wasn't just talk, not just some fancy mission statement on a wall. They got to work immediately. And what was the first thing they targeted? The passport process. It makes sense, right? It's the most visible, most direct interaction most Nigerians have with the Immigration Service.
So what does this new and improved system actually look like in practice? Well, they rebuilt it from the ground up. Step 1, a fully automated online application. Boom, no more piles of paper. Step 2, seamless biometric capture, making it quick and secure. And finally, Step 3, contactless processing and delivery. All of this basically slashed the queues and cut down on opportunities for any funny business.
So yeah, the process got a major facelift, which is great. But what did that actually achieve? What were the results? Well, the impact of all this digital reform wasn't just a feeling. You can see it in the cold, hard numbers. And this takes us right back to that mind-boggling question we started with. That backlog, that mountain of over 200,000 applications, gone, completely cleared. And this wasn't some slow, gradual chip away. It was a fast, decisive move that instantly took all that pressure off the system. And the wins weren't just about speed either. It also hit the bottom line. By going digital with things like expatriate quota payments and visa processing, the whole system became way more transparent and easier to track. The result? A massive boost in non-oil revenue for the government. We're talking over 6 billion naira. It just goes to show, a system that runs well is also a system that pays well. But the story doesn't end with just passports and revenue. I mean, that's huge. But to really grasp the scale of this change, we have to look at the ripple effect. How this push for modernization touched everything. From national security at the borders, all the way down to the welfare of the officers working there. Let's talk security, because this is critical. They launched new e-border surveillance systems, which is a big step, but the real game changer was integration. By linking their systems directly with global databases like Interpol's, they suddenly had this incredible power to spot and stop wanted individuals, right at the point of entry, in real time. That's a massive upgrade for national security. And what's really important is that these reforms also looked inward. They understood that you can't have a modern service without motivated people. So, to boost morale and fix some long-standing problems, they rolled out widespread promotions to get people's careers moving again. They brought in salary increases. And maybe the most important thing for the long haul, they set up a dedicated paramilitary pensions board to make sure the officers' futures were secure. That's how you build a loyal, effective team. So when you step back and look at all the pieces, the new tech, the crazy efficiency gains, the beefed-up security, and the focus on the actual people doing the work, what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway? Well, it starts to look less like a one-time fix and more like a potential blueprint for how things should be run. So, what's the magic formula here? What's the engine driving all this change? You could boil it down to this: proactive, tech-driven leadership. It's a simple idea, really. It's about having a clear vision for modernization and then actually using the digital tools to make it happen, to get real results that you can see and measure.
And that leaves us with one final big question to chew on. We've seen what this approach did for one absolutely critical agency: the speed, the efficiency, the real-world results. It kind of makes you wonder, right? Is this the new standard we should start expecting from public service across the entire country?